Well, today everybody, in this video, I want to give you guys my tips and tricks on how to set up your guitar for live playing and hitting the stage. Let's get into it. So what's going on, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. My name is Xander Raymond Charles, the mighty XRC. It's so good to see you guys today. Really excited about today's content because I am going to share, arguably my biggest passion, that is just talking about how I set up my guitars for live playing. I love playing live. It's the best thing about the guitar, in my opinion. Just playing and performing in front of people, dude, there's no drug on the planet that feels as good as that, in my opinion. All right, got a new ding. So if you guys are brand new to my channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe. I'd really sincerely appreciate it. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for always taking the time out of your day to come hang out with me. It means the world to me. Love seeing your guys' face and your guys' names down below in the comment section. What's up, man? Good to see you. All right, let's not waste any more time. Let's talk about how I set up my guitars for live playing. So I bring this guitar onto the show first. I brought some guests with me today, but this one is in fact my #1 live guitar. I've had this guitar for almost 7.5, maybe close to 8 years, give or take, something like that. And I've got hundreds of shows, I would say, by now with this guitar. And this guitar is my favorite live guitar. And I've had a lot of trials and tribulations and just experiments with this guitar to figure out what works for me, what doesn't work for me, and how I've made this guitar unbelievable for live playing. So my overall philosophy with guitars and live playing is making them more or less bulletproof, because if something can go wrong, it will go wrong. Whether you're playing at your local venue and you have a one-off, if you have a quick weekend run, if you have a 2-week regional tour, or if you have a full-on month-long or 2-month-long tour all over the country, all over the world, something's bound to go wrong. And in my experience, the more time I'm on the road, the more opportunity for things to go wrong. Obviously, right? Wear and tear, just being away from home for months at a time, things are going to go wrong. So to combat that, I try to get rid of as many variables as possible on my guitars. So first things first, let's talk about the electronics. So this guitar, as you can see, is missing a neck pickup. This guitar started with a bridge and a neck pickup, but as I continued to play this guitar live, I quickly removed it from the scheme. One, I never really ever play on the neck pickup when I play live, and two, just if there's an opportunity for something to go wrong in the circuit and potentially make your guitar not make sound, that's not something I want to experience and or react to in real time. Meaning if there's something that I don't need in the circuit, I'm going to remove it so it doesn't have the potential to ruin my signal or give me no signal, and now I have to troubleshoot it even though I wasn't really using it in the first place. About March of last year, I had a bridge and a neck pickup. This guitar looked completely different just a year ago, and somewhere, I think it was in Milwaukee, I removed the neck pickup because I didn't need it, and I didn't want any of my signal, any of the battery life, any of the juice to go to the neck pickup if I wasn't going to use it anyway. And then this guitar right here is just one bridge pickup, which is mounted to the body with a pickup ring, one volume knob, and one output jack, and then the battery is in the back here. That's literally all that's in this guitar. So it's essentially 1, 2, 3 things, plus the battery, 4 if you want to include that. So if something's going to go wrong, I only have to check 4 spots. I love that. I love having just, if I'm traveling, just having 4 variables to work with, and not have to worry about anything electronically elaborate or anything like that. And a little side note, this guitar is equipped with the EMG solderless connect system. I'm a huge fan of that. One, I'm an EMG artist and I love EMGs ever since I first listened to volume 3, I guess we'll say, or something like that. As well as old school Parkway Drive, August Burns Red, all my formative years of delving into heavier styles of music. All my favorite players use EMGs. Zach Wild, list goes on and on. So again, if I'm traveling and I'm hitting the road, I don't necessarily want to bring a soldering iron with me as well. I'm not the best at soldering to begin with, but also too, it's just another thing that I have to deal with. So just having the quick connect system and bringing some backup parts, that'll be a much easier fix rather than getting some soldering iron, etc. You know what I mean? All right, next, let's talk about the strings and the tuning. So this guitar predominantly is set up in drop C anymore. It's been in drop C for the better part of a year now. It was in drop A sharp, but now it pretty much just lives in drop C when touring and playing live. So the first thing I want to talk about is probably the most common question I get with any of my guitars, and that is the string gauge. So I'm currently using this custom set that I didn't necessarily come up with. I used it from a different brand, but I had Stringjoy give me this set as well, and it's 11 to 56 with a 19 plane. Those strings are pretty heavy, but I've used heavier strings in the past. I used like the Ernie Ball 12 to 60s last year in drop C for like 4 months straight, and that was great from a tuning standpoint, but there were some disadvantages to that. Basically, what I'm trying to get at here is just try to use as heavy of a gauge of string as possible before you start to lose feel and you start to lose the ability to manipulate the strings. Yeah, dude, I was using 12 to 60s and I was using a wound G string last year, and by the end of the From Ashes to New tour that we did, my hands were like ruined. My hands were shot, dude. So like the tuning was great and the guitar sounded great, but just playing that over and over, I was starting to get like calluses on like I don't even know what you call it, this part of my fingers, because doing a lot of bar chords, a lot of metal stuff, just slamming my fingers into, a 60 gauge string or something like that, 62 or something like that, every single night was just like destroying my fingers on the inside. It wasn't even about the tips anymore, the calluses on the tips of my fingers. It's about like my literal hands as well. When you're playing live, adrenaline's pumping, you're moving around, you're dancing. There's going to be a lot of factors to like how you play. So if you can keep your tuning as rock solid as possible from a heavy gauge of strings, that will just set you up for success, in my opinion. Another thing too, it goes without saying with live playing, is locking tuners. Now, there's an argument to be made like locking tuners don't keep tuning better. I think they do, but I've heard people say that it doesn't necessarily mean that. It just means that it's an easier for like string changes and shit like that. So, take everything I say with a grain of salt. I think it holds tuning better. All my guitars with locking tuners have always held tuning better. If I had a guitar with non-locking tuners and then did locking tuners, it always stayed in tune better. So anyway, man, yeah, just in my opinion, a set of locking tuners is a must for live playing. Again, for the consistency, for your tuning stability. And then last but not least, let's talk about the action with the guitar. So I try to set my action to be a little higher than I would normally at home. And the reason being is because the different climates. I've been on tours like in the fall. I started in Phoenix, Arizona at the end of summer, and then like halfway through I was in Toronto, and then towards the end I was in Vancouver, Canada. So I was literally all over North America within, a month's time, give or take, and the climates are changing all the time. Like the Pacific Northwest is way different than the Pacific Southwest. You know what I mean? Like the point I'm trying to make is that your neck will move ever so slightly. Like wood reacts to different climates differently, right? So sometimes like my action will be a little bit lower in certain climates, and sometimes it'll be a little higher. So you can obviously adjust the truss rod every single day if you want to, but in my opinion, what I found that works for me is like if I just keep the action a little higher than normal, I will never really run into like fretboard buzz or anything like that. Just sometimes the action will be a little higher than I want it, but then sometimes it'll be a little bit lower, and then sometimes it's right in the middle, depending on the climate. That's like the weirdest thing that I've experienced, but I'm not really one to like stick an Allen key in the truss rod every single day, because to me it doesn't really matter. Like I'm not really like playing intricate, crazy solos. I'm just riffing all day, so that's just not a huge factor to me. But again, the climate does play a part into how the guitar plays. So my solution to that was just jack up the action a little bit higher than I normally would. I don't have any sort of measurements like that. It's just a little bit of a feeling thing. And the way I jack up the action mostly is I just adjust these little tiny screws on the saddles. This is kind of a nice segue. We're talking about the action and the feel, how the guitar plays. I did some modifications to this guitar to make it feel better when I played. I don't know how well it'll translate to the camera right now, but this guitar has a little bit of sanding going on. This finish started to wear. I've had this neck for about 8 years, almost a decade now, and the finish was starting to wear. So I just kind of sped up the process, and I just took really, really thin sandpaper and sanded it to get to the natural wood now in certain spots. It's just like from here to here, just kind of where I'm playing. That really has taken this guitar up several notches and several levels, because now it just feels incredibly amazing. Take this guitar for example. This is one of my tour guitars, a 78 Les Paul Custom. This neck is worn in so well after give or take 50 years of playing. So, I love the feel of this neck because there's still some of the gloss and some of the lacquer in certain spots on this neck. And if that neck felt like this the whole way through, I would not enjoy that. But again, when I toured this with For the Fallen Dreams in the fall of 23, this guitar felt amazing because the neck was nice and worn in. And this guitar here is relatively brand new to the channel. It's my lefty converted Strat. It's still got a thick coat of lacquer on the back of the neck, and I'm trying to wear it in. It'll take probably a year or two to even start to put a dent in it, maybe even a little bit longer, maybe close to 5 years, something like that. But it does not feel good. Like, it's very, very sticky, and I know if I'm playing and I'm sweating, it's just gonna get worse, you know what I'm saying? So that would be a modification that I would do to this guitar if I were to speed up the process, and that is to sand down the neck. Another deterrent for me in this guitar when I was rehearsing with it and figuring out how I can play with this thing is these old vintage bridges have these little screws on the saddle sitting up really, really high, and they were cutting, not literally, but like I could feel them digging into the palm of my hand. And I know if I caught it right playing and, you know, strumming or picking really fast, I could snag it and it would probably cut me. You know what I mean? So like that is a deterrent. And a little sidebar to all you Strat players out there, like this guitar came with this cover, but it doesn't ever stay on. So anybody want to give me some tips and tricks? I could just try to force it on there, but I'm afraid I'm going to break something. But anyway, man, like this guitar has a little bit of a problem area right here. These bridge saddle screws are really, really sharp and jagged. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is just like the miscellaneous stuff I've done to my guitars to make them bulletproof when touring. First and foremost, the eye screws. A lot of people ask me about this. I'm not the first person to do this, but I did take inspiration from, I think Eddie Van Halen was the first person I ever saw do this. These are just from Lowe's. These are just eye screws, and I screw them into the body, and every single one of my tour guitars has these. And then I have the accommodating strap with the clip locks, like the dog collar or the dog leash clips. You know what I'm saying? So like that is just something that I will always do to all my guitars. All my strap locks I've ever tried in the past always rip out because they have these really thin, dainty little screws, and I don't know how anybody uses them. I rip them out like almost immediately. So I will never use those unless I can find something that stays in the guitar and I don't wiggle out and rip out. But yeah, eye screws, that won't go anywhere. I will never not use these. It's a great way to keep your strap on your guitar and keep the screws in the guitar. Another thing too, volume knobs. Like look at this one right here. This is very loose, and I guarantee you, I hope it doesn't, but I guarantee you by the end of the tour, the Memphis Mayfire tour I'm playing, this will probably get lost because they're so easy to pull off. And when I did my rig rundown with Premier Guitar, this guitar at the time didn't even have a volume knob on it. It just had the volume pot. That could just be something, you know, I could do to just make things easier for me. As well as another thing here too, like that volume pot right there, I tried to put it in a spot where it wouldn't hit my arm. It hits my arm still, so I've got it taped down there as well. So I'm always having issues with my volume pots. And another miscellaneous tip you could use is you can use a fret wrap or a piece of tape, like a piece of gaff tape or something like that, and put it on your strings. Now, if you have a stop tail piece like a Gibson, you're gonna put it here as well as the bottom. But if you just have a string through, put it right here. That'll get rid of all the residual noise, and it'll make your guitar signal a lot tighter. So I know for a fact on the From Ashes to New tour, I had a piece of tape there. I can't remember what I used the rest of the year with this guitar, but if you can get a fret wrap, I would highly recommend using that. And then last but not least, this is just for fun, man. Make your guitars have some personality. This is like bonus. I personally don't like stock guitars. I personally don't like pretty guitars. I like guitars to look exactly like this or something like this. Like, what are we even looking at right here? It's got a Live Laugh Love sticker on it, for Christ's sake. It's got hollow flash. It's got my initials spray painted on it. It's got a million dings on it. It's beat to but it's so cool, man. It's got a personality. So I've had a lot of you guys reach out to me in DMs on Instagram, and I'm sorry if I didn't get to you or if I didn't respond. I try my very best. I love you guys. It's so cool that you guys want to share what you guys think about my modifications and share your own modifications. But yeah, dude, a lot of you guys are reaching out and saying like, oh, it's so cool that like you don't care about what your guitar looks like and you're not afraid to mod it, you know, etc. And that means a lot to me, man, because yeah, dude, like that's my whole MO. Like I want my guitars to be undoubtedly my own. And I fell into this whole hollow flash thing, and I've never seen anybody just do a strip and a stripe of hollow flash, especially on like a dad rock guitar and especially on a beat shit dad rock guitar. So I'm embracing the hollow flash stripe. I've never seen anybody do it, and I kind of want to make that my shtick, my thing, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, dude, like long story short, when modifying your guitars in preparation for playing live or just modifying them in general, give it some personality, man. Like, who wants a boring old, plain old stock guitar that looks like everybody else's? Not me. So everybody, that's my thoughts and opinions on how to set up your guitar for playing live. What do you guys think of my thoughts and opinions? I hope you guys learned something from this video, and I would love to hear from you guys down below in the comment section about my thoughts and opinions. And yeah, dude, let's just talk all things guitar down below, and who knows, maybe I can learn a thing or two from you guys. All right, be sure to like, comment, subscribe on your way out the door. Love you guys so much, and with that being said, I'll see you guys in a video very, very soon. Later.